We are super happy to have a window of time to speak with Maria Ferrante-Schepis. The white paper is called Predicting the Post-Pandemic Future of Trusted Advisors. I would love for you, if you wouldn't mind, just sharing a couple of the major trends that came about in that white paper.
The first one, and probably the one that is the most relatable, I believe, to the people who read it, was around this new breed of empathy that is required and going to be an imperative, if not already, because this study was done in the middle of 2020. So now we're already into 2022 now. So the future is already here from what we were predicting. And that trend is really focusing on the softer skills that human beings have. Our artificial intelligence hasn't come anywhere near close to that yet. And it's becoming even more important than technical skill in who people decide to work with as an advisor.
All right, I love those. And you know, the white paper does such a good job of sort of spurring a lot of thought and giving you something to think about to move forward. You may or may not be aware, Maria, but I have such a passion to see more women in this industry. And this video will air in a webinar that we're doing on International Women's Day. And when you started to speak about soft skills, I immediately started to think about how women sort of have that innate ability to do that without even thinking about it. It's not really something they have to be trained in many cases. So I would love you to talk a little bit more about those soft skills and the advisor of the future, and then really maybe how women tend to be really, really skilled in that respect.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is what you're saying is absolutely true. And that, and obviously you can't paint everyone with the same brush, but generally speaking, women are born with the biological innate ability to have those soft skills. Men are, you hear those expressions like men are the warriors and women are the warriors, or men are the conquerors and women are the caregivers. That's true if you think about how biology works. Again, there are plenty of men who are excellent at being caring and caregiving, and many women who can quite frankly be warriors and conquerors as well. But what you said before is that many women don't have to be trained in this subject. That's maybe true, but sometimes we're trained out of it. Yeah. So, right. So as we have, depending on when you may have entered the business world, and if you entered the business world at the time that I did, which was in the early 80s, or even before that, if it was in the 1970s, or even into the late 80s, early 90s, women were oftentimes taught to suppress those skills in favor of the other type. And granted, most people have both muscles they can flex. So some of us may have to train ourselves back into them again after having been trained out.
I would love to dive in a little deeper on empathy with you. I know that has been something that has been very valuable to me in my 26 years of being an advisor. And I often have clients just not even be able to comprehend that I can go there with them when they're having a rough time or a joyous time even. I would like to talk a bit more about that. And if I maybe want to focus a little bit on the fact that if you don't feel like you have a lot of great empathy, is there a way that you can sort of build that? Or do you have any suggestions that female advisors and male advisors and the same, how you can grow that sort of empathy muscle?
When others feel your empathy, they trust in a very profound way. And so to build that skill, the best advice I could give would be immersion, for lack of a better term, to immerse yourself in what that other person may be feeling. And I know you and I had talked about a tool that we have used in a variety of different workshops that is loosely built on the old Mad Lib. I don't know if people on this call will know what that is, but it was a game that we used to play back in when I was a kid, where it was like fill in the blanks, and you could create a story out of filling in certain blanks. Like, you know, the man named blank went to the blank and drove back in a blank, you know, and you fill it in and make up a story. So we have this empathy Mad Lib that allows you to take let's say a real person or a scenario that you can potentially imagine, fill in those blanks, and allow yourself to be immersed in how that person may be feeling. And so if you know that person has young children and that they probably have to be homeschooled during the pandemic, or they had to be, or they are giving care to a senior citizen or one of their aging parents, that they're dealing with this type of a problem or that type of a problem. And it's the stopping, thinking, putting yourself in that person's shoes, and the deliberate exercise around that allows you to build that empathy.
Oh, I love that. I love that. We are going to give that to everyone that's registered for this webinar. And I think that's such a valuable thing. And sometimes it's just a matter of us stopping and just thinking, what are they feeling right now? And like you said, putting yourself in their shoes.